subscribe to my channel.
Before you decide she's not interested, before you pull away, shut down, or tell yourself that familiar story, here we go again, I'm too much, not enough, wrong timing, wrong person. I need you to pause, because what you're about to do might not be protection, it might be self-sabotage. And if you click away right now, you may repeat a pattern that has quietly shaped your entire romantic life. You think she's not interested. But what if you're not seeing clearly? What if the thing that hurts right now, the delayed text, the quiet tone, the cancel plan, isn't rejection, but your nervous system misfiring? I want you to sit with that, because what feels obvious isn't always true. When you believe she's not interested, your body reacts before your mind can reason, your chest tightens, your stomach drops, there's a flash of heat, then cold. You replay every interaction, you scan for evidence, you magnify small things. A shorter message becomes a sign. A missed call becomes a verdict. Her distraction becomes confirmation. She's pulling away. And in that moment, it feels certain. But certainty is not the same as truth. Let me tell you something gently, clearly, and without judgment. When you've been hurt before, truly hurt, your brain becomes hypervigilant. It is scanning for danger long before there is any. It does not want you blindsided again, so it interprets ambiguity as rejection. Neutral is negative. Uncertainty is loss. Your brain is trying to protect you. But sometimes protection looks exactly like sabotage. You see, attraction isn't just about chemistry, it's about perception. It's about perception. And perception is filtered through your history. If you've been ignored, you'll expect ignoring. If you've been abandoned, you'll anticipate abandonment. If you've chased people who are emotionally unavailable, you will unconsciously expect distance, even when someone is simply busy. And here's where it gets painful. The moment you decide she's not interested, you change. You text differently. Shorter, colder, you stop asking questions. You withhold warmth. You mirror the distance you think you're seeing. You tell yourself, I'm matching her energy. But you're not matching her energy. You're reacting to your fear. And she feels that shift. Now she senses something off. Now she wonders if you're pulling away. Now she hesitates. And suddenly the story you feared becomes real. Not because she wasn't interested, but because fear made you behave as if she wasn't. Let's slow this down. I want you to think about a specific moment. A real one. Maybe it was last week. Maybe it was yesterday. You sent a message, hours passed. No reply. You checked your phone more than you'd like to admit. You started calculating. She was online. She saw it. Your mind built a case. Exhibit A, slow response. Exhibit B, less emojis. Exhibit C, rescheduled date. By the time she finally replied, you were already halfway out the door emotionally. Do you see what happened? You left before she did. This is not weakness. It's self-protection learned from experience. But here's the deeper truth. Secure love requires emotional courage. Not emotional guessing. Interest doesn't always look like intensity. It doesn't always look like constant texting or overwhelming enthusiasm. Real people have jobs, moods, stress, fatigue, social anxiety, family dynamics, internal battles you know nothing about. Sometimes she's quiet because she's tired. Sometimes she's distracted because she's afraid. Sometimes she's distracted because she's afraid of moving too fast. Sometimes she's snatching what she thinks you want. And sometimes, yes, sometimes she's not interested. But here's the part that changes everything. You don't find clarity by assuming. You find clarity by observing calmly. There's a difference between consistent disinterest and temporary fluctuation. Disinterest is a pattern. It's sustained. It's effort imbalance over time. It's you initiating every conversation for weeks. It's her never asking about you. It's cancelled plans without rescheduling. It's emotional unavailability that doesn't shift. That's data. But one slow reply, one distracted date, 1 week of lower energy, I date to, that's noise. If you treat noise like data, you sabotage connection. Now, I want to challenge you in a loving way. When you think she's not interested, what you're actually afraid of, that you'll be rejected, that you'll look foolish, that you'll care more, or is it that if you hope, really hope, and you're wrong, it will hurt more? Be honest. Be honest. Because often, deciding she's not interested feels safer than staying open. If you convince yourself she doesn't care, you can retreat with dignity. You can say, I saw it coming. You can protect your ego. You can avoid vulnerability. But you also close the door on something that might have grown. Let me tell you a story. There was a man, thoughtful, intelligent, deeply sensitive, who believed every woman eventually lost interest in him. It had happened before, so when he met someone new and she didn't reply for half a day, his mind said, here we go. He pulled back immediately. She felt it. She assumed he'd lost interest. She withdrew slightly. He saw that withdrawal and thought, confirmed. They faded. Months later, he found out she had been overwhelmed at work and genuinely liked him. She thought he'd cooled off. Neither of them were uninterested. They were both afraid. This is how connection dies quietly. Not in drama, not in betrayal, in misinterpretation. Now pause with me. Breathe. Because this next part matters. And emotional safety comes from consistency, clarity, and regulated responses, not testing, not guessing, not strategic withdrawal. If you feel unsure, instead of pulling back, try staying steady. Instead of mirroring distance, maintain warmth. Instead of reacting, observe. Say to yourself, I don't have enough data yet. That sentence alone can save you from unnecessary heartbreak, because when you react impulsively to perceived rejection, you abandon yourself. You let fear steer. And fear is loud, urgent, convincing, but not always wise. You deserve connection built on clarity, not anxiety. And here's another truth that might sting a little. Sometimes when you're drawn to someone unpredictable, it feels intense, magnetic, electrifying. But what you're actually feeling might be nervous system activation, not compatibility. If you grew up earning love through performance, you might unconsciously chase uncertainty because it feels familiar. And when someone is steady, calm, consistent, you might misinterpret that as lack of spark. So when she doesn't overwhelm you with constant attention, you label it not interested. But healthy interest is balanced. It doesn't consume. It doesn't chase. It doesn't panic. It shows up and it gives space. Now let's talk about the other possibility, the one you're afraid to face. What if she actually isn't interested? Then your power is not in convincing her. It's in accepting gracefully. Because your worth does not fluctuate based on someone else's romantic preference. Rejection is redirection, not as a cliche, but as alignment. If someone cannot meet you with mutual energy, that is information, not indictment. The strongest posture you can hold is this. If she's interested, wonderful. If she's not, I remain whole. That mindset shifts everything. Because when you operate from wholeness, you don't cling, you don't chase, you don't overanalyze every interaction. You express interest clearly. You watch what she does consistently. You let patterns reveal themselves, and you adjust calmly. Calm is powerful. Calm says, I value myself enough to wait for clarity. Anxious reaction says, I must act now before I lose this. And here's something important. Urgency in early dating is usually fear, not love. Real connection unfolds. It doesn't need to be forced into certainty in 3 days. Let's reframe this completely. Instead of asking, is she interested? Ask, is this dynamic making you feel secure or anxious over time? That question centers you, because your emotional experience matters too. If you constantly feel confused, small, or chasing, that's data. If you feel respected, considered, and gradually more comfortable, that's also data. Stop trying to decode her every move. Start noticing your internal state. Now I want you to imagine responding differently next time. She takes longer to reply. You notice the surge of anxiety. Instead of spiraling, you say, I'm feeling triggered. That's about my history, not necessarily her behavior. You put the phone down. You continue your day. You don't send a follow-up to force reassurance. You don't withdraw to punish. You stay steady. When she replies, you respond warmly, not guarded, not sarcastic. That emotional regulation is attractive. It communicates strength without arrogance. And if over time you notice she never invests, never initiates, never reciprocates, then you step back calmly, not dramatically, because you don't beg for interest, you invite it. And you observe who accepts. There is something deeply magnetic about someone who doesn't panic at ambiguity. You don't need to chase clarity. You create it through consistent behavior and honest communication. And if you truly feel uncertain, you can say something simple and grounded. I enjoy spending time with you. I just want to make sure we are on the same page. Not confrontational. Not needy. Just clear. Clarity is mature. Mind games are exhale. Sting, sting. Now I'm going to say something I want you to hear deeply. You are not too much for wanting reassurance. You are not weak for feeling anxious. You are not foolish for caring. But you are responsible for how you respond to those feelings. And growth happens when you respond differently than you did before, when you resist the urge to self-sabotage, when you choose curiosity over assumption, when you allow space without spiraling. Because sometimes the person you're about to walk away from is the one who would have stayed if you had. And sometimes the lesson isn't about her at all. It's about you becoming emotionally secure enough to handle uncertainty without collapsing into fear. This is bigger than one woman. This is about breaking a cycle. The cycle of assume, withdraw, confirm, repeat. What if this time you notice, regulate, observe, decide? Do you feel the difference? One is reactive, the other is empowered. And empowerment doesn't mean detachment, it means steadiness. You can like someone deeply and still remain grounded. You can hope and still survive disappointment. You can care and still keep your dignity. And here's the final shift I want to give you. Interest is revealed in patterns, not moments. Watch what she does consistently over weeks. Watch how she responds when you initiate. Watch whether she invests emotionally. Watch whether play burn. And move forward naturally. Don't interrogate every fluctuation. Zoom out. When you zoom out, the truth becomes clearer and calmer. You don't need to rush to conclusion. You don't need to protect yourself from something that hasn't happened. You don't need to abandon yourself just because your fear got loud. Stay in your center. Stay open. Stay observant. Stay observant. If she's not, your steadiness will allow you to walk away without resentment. Either way, you win. Because you didn't let fear run the story. You rewrote it so the next time that anxious thought whispers, she's not interested, I want you to pause. Take a breath. And ask, is this fact or fear? Then choose your response with intention. That choice right there is the moment you become emotionally powerful. And when you become emotionally powerful, you stop chasing certainty. You become it. And the right person won't require you to decode silence. She'll meet you in clarity. Until then, hold your ground. Hold your warmth. Hold your warmth. You are not here to beg for interest. You are here to offer connection and receive it equally. And that starts not with her reaction, but with your regulation. Remember this. If fear rushes, insecurity assumes. Ego withdraws. But strength pauses. Strength stays. Open long enough to see the truth. And when you live from that strength, you don't just improve your dating life, you transform your relationship with yourself. And that is the kind of power no rejection can take from you.